This is the Stubborn German Podcast. I'm Kevin Ostie, coming to you from the very festive Stubborn German Brewing Company here in the equally festive town of Waterloo, Illinois. Just a couple of stones throw away from the St. Louis metro region. And I am joined by the proprietor of the Stubborn German Brewing Company, Miss Tammy Ron.
Hello. Good to see you.
Good to see you, Tammy. We also have a couple of very special guests. Some team members here at the Stubborn German. Mr. Josh Shirley. Josh?
Yeah. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Yeah, welcome. And Tara Oster.
Hi. Thanks for having me. This is fun.
All right. Well, Tara's got the fun going for all of us right now, so that's cool.
I try.
Yes. So this episode's, it's interesting for a couple of reasons. It was, I think, Tammy's idea to bring some of your crew aboard the show for an episode.
It was, and I've actually had this idea for a really long time, and we're finally getting to it, so I'm super excited. I just feel like we have the best staff members ever here, and they're all super interesting and really know their beers and their bourbons, and they're just like interesting and good people. And yeah, we just want to introduce them a little more to you. So
yeah, very cool. Well, one thing that our astute listeners will notice is that Chris is not on this particular episode. And he has a legacy of the German word of the day competition, which nobody's ever won. And Tammy looks at me with another German word of the day, which is a frutz, which is a frown. I have one if you want to go there.
let's do it.
All right.
I'm actually really happy about that, because when I stopped in and you were like, well, Chris won't be there, it'll be me. And I was like, oh, no German word of the day, but...
You were happy there was none, or there was happy?
No, I was sad. I love the podcast and the German word of the day, and I'd heard Chris wouldn't be here, but you just made it happen.
All right. Well, let's hope we don't let you down. All right. So the German word of the day is Schwiniak.
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 Ladies first. Yeah. There you go.
I'm going to go with a person that serves beer.
Wow. So Tammy's playing the theme here again.
Yep.
She's very smart. Sometimes the guests influence the word by their career, and we'll note that.
I was thinking the same. It's an S word, so I was like, oh, should I go with server? But it can't be that simple.
See,
like,
that's why I went first.
Yeah,
So.
dang it, Tammy. Yeah. I'm gonna say barmaid.
Barmaid.
It's close, but
Okay.
And it's Schwiniak, not Schweinyak, right?
Schwiniak.
I.e. spelling?
Yes, I believe. No, I don't know if I spelled it correctly. It could be Schweinyak, Schwein.
Well, I know
Is there a difference?
Schwein is pig, so that's why I was wondering. Schwein, I'm not sure.
or is it?
I don't know.
So what's the guess?
Well, I'm going to go with Schwiniak. I'm assuming it's not anything to do with a pig, so I'm going to go with a small dinghy that you might ride out to your boat.
Awesome. Small dinghy that you would ride out to the boat. Fantastic. So yeah, your craft is on the horizon, and to get there,
right, you have to take something out.
You captain your Schwiniak.
Schwiniak out.
Very nice. I like.
I feel like you had that definition in mind before you even knew the word.
I think he was going to use that for any of the words.
I know, that's what I mean.
Could have been, but if it were Schwein, I would have gone pig. But the Schwein threw me off.
Well, we will find out later in the show. Very good. So, as Tammy alluded to, our guests are very much a part of the experience of coming here to the Stubborn German. I know both of you have provided me with some excellent experiences, and you labeled them as bartenders. I like to call them spreaders of good cheer.
That is true. They make a lot of people happy.
For sure. So, Josh, how did you get involved being a bartender here?
So pretty interesting. I've been bartending here for a little over 5 years now. I was not one of the OG. I wasn't one of the originals, but I came on in the fall of 2016 after we'd been open for a few months.
Pretty close, yeah.
And so I originally got to know Chris and Tammy through the firm, through the homebrew club. So the previous December, I had started attending homebrew meetings. I had been homebrewing for about, 6 years at that point, and got to know Chris that way. And actually, Chris and I are related too.
Oh.
Our dads were first cousins, but Chris and I never knew each other growing up, so I never really knew him until getting involved with the firm. And it was just one night my wife and I were up here having some beverages. Tammy was just chatting with us and said something about looking for a bartender to just fill in every once in a while and kind of just checking to see if I'd be interested. And I looked at my wife / boss, and she said, yeah, you should go for that. You'd be really good at that, which I was very surprised that she was like, hey, take some more time away from us. But anyway, so I was like, I called Tammy the next day and I said, yeah, I'm interested if you're serious about it. And so it wasn't very long though before every once in a while turned into pretty much every week I was bartending up here, and that's kind of the story since. I picked up a few other roles, doing some keg cleaning, keg filling, helping out with brewing a little bit in the summer here and there, things like that along the way too.
Sure.
But yeah.
And I'm assuming that there is a second half of your career as well, so it's not all just here.
Correct. Yeah, I'm actually a teacher. Yeah.
And what do you teach?
I teach fifth grade.
Fifth grade, right on.
Everything, all subjects.
Sometimes you might need a drink after fifth grade.
Yeah,
hard
very
day
true.
after fifth grade.
Very
Fifth
true.
grade was difficult on me, I know for sure. So, Tara, how did you become part of this team?
This was actually a really fun day for me. I messaged Tammy, I messaged the business page, and I said, hey, so I moved here a couple years ago, and I was a server bartender for many, many years, and I kind of took a break. And when I come visit your brewery, I miss it.
Oh, right.
I was like, I love the atmosphere and I love the people, and I never have a problem. It's a great place. And I said, I'm a sister-owned beer server, and I'm interested in working a couple shifts a week. And she goes, when can we meet? When can you come?
I was excited. Yeah.
So we just sat down and chatted, and she goes, I can train you next week. And that's how it happened.
And here we are. And I think, if I remember correctly, your timing was kind of impeccable with the pandemic, right?
Yeah, it worked out great. And actually, I put it off for a long time because I moved up here from my hometown, and I worked at a really popular joint down there, Mary Jane's, and I worked there for about 5 years. And I was like a career server, full-time there, and that's what I did, and I really enjoyed it. So I moved up here, and I started kind of my own small little business, and I just wanted to focus on that. That's what I thought. But then I would come have drinks, and I would hang out with friends, and I would look around and go I really miss it. And if you grow up serving, or if you that's your start, you grow up serving tables or making drinks, you always enjoy it. So I came back.
And Tara is one of the few bartenders that have experience bartending here.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Most of our bartenders have never bartended before. And she was one of the only ones that had experience doing that.
I thought you said you have, Josh.
No,
Oh,
I
then
was
it's
totally a novice coming into this.
Okay, it's Michael. Michael Nolte says that
had-
he's done it in
he
college.
He bartended a little while in college, I think. You're right.
Yeah. So, what's interesting is you would never know,
Yeah.
first of all,
Yeah,
because
right.
everybody takes great care of the customers here. But interestingly, so Josh was kind of picked, right? Because you're a friend of the family, actually related, brewing club, all that kind of stuff. But Tara, you kind of cold called. You just knocked on the door and said,
Yeah.
hey.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, it was perfect timing because I was really putting it off. Kind of just doing my own thing, even though I felt like something was missing because I like people. I'm a people person. So then I was, just ready, and I reached out, and that was late February of 2020. And then I think I trained twice, and then the first lockdown started. And I remember Tammy looked at me and she goes, I'm sorry, your experience wasn't normal here. And You're doing great.
Yeah, because we were closed on the inside, so we were serving beers, which were cans and growlers, off of our patio. So poor Tara is like running from our patio to inside, and it's March, so it's cold, and I'm like, I promise it's not normally like this.
Yeah.
Like,
But, I honestly, that was not a problem for me. We adjust. Like, service industry, hospitality, people adjust with every hiccup, and we just do it with a smile, and we make everybody happy. I remember when we delivered beers, like right away.
Fun.
That was one of the first things we did. So
Wow.
I'm happy we're back. I'm happy people are inside. I'm happy to see faces.
Well, yeah, I think we all are.
Right.
And you alluded to starting another business. What's that all about?
Well, I'm also a certified dog trainer, and I have a business, and it was in person, which meant I saw one person at a time, and then the pandemic happened, and I was forced to work with clients virtually, which everybody was very confused about. But honestly, my job is to educate the owner and educate the guardian of their dog, and so doing it over Zoom has been super effective, and now I'm actually growing my business to where I see people in groups, and I specifically help dogs who don't like grooming. So I help the owner from home through Zoom train their dog to like grooming.
There are dogs that like grooming?
Mine,
It's been
mine
trained.
are starting to, yeah. And there's so much happening in that realm, and I think the pandemic really caused a lot of people to sit back and just take things slower. So I saw a big surge in the cooperative care movement, helping your dog enjoy vet visits, helping them enjoy grooming, because when the pandemic happened, all of that was taken away, and we felt pretty powerless not being able to go with your dog to the vet or sit with them and help them through it, because it's kind of scary, and grooming too. And groomers couldn't work for like weeks, almost
Sure,
a couple
yeah.
months, and I think people all of a sudden realized they had to wash their own dog or like try and cut their own dog's hair, which was kind of scary to know, but that's what I do. I'm here to help them through all that.
There you go. And I think another parallel is that everybody, like you alluded to before, couldn't come here. So this, as the doors reopened and as people were able to return, Josh, you were here before and after. Did you notice a difference in people's, enjoyment level or how they act when they're out now?
I would say, right after we got to open back up, everybody seemed just very happy and grateful to be back. Definitely.
Yeah.
There are definitely some different trends, though, from before compared to after. It seemed like afterwards, we would get much more of a crowd on the weekends, days, but in the evening, it would kind of fizzle out around 8 o'clock, whereas before COVID, that time from like 8 to 10 or 8 to 11 that we had been open before, that was still a very busy time, whereas now it's almost like same amount of people, but it's sort of shifted earlier in the day. So some of the trends have changed a little bit.
I think I have a theory about that. The more we've been going through it, and the more we've been like just seeing people, I really felt like initially when I realized like this is weird. It's flip-flopped, but I think it's because the pandemic forced us all to stay home. And then, whereas before getting out was a treat and leaving after work hours and like staying out with your friends, so it seems like now they're kind of filling those needs and checking those boxes throughout the day, and so they don't really want to stay out late, but they're here.
I agree, and I'm part of that too, because before it's normal to be out at 10 o'clock at night, and now I'm like, oh, sometimes I just want to be at home watching a movie at 10 o'clock.
Right.
So.
Well, it's weird. There's almost like this, I don't want to call it guilt, but there's this hesitance where it's like, should I really be still out? Because all that happened, I should probably be at home, But that brings me to something that I think is very unique about this establishment, and it is the hours. This isn't a place that is open all night. And tell me the philosophy behind that and how it works out.
Yeah, so the very first day we were open, or the first weekend we were open, which was April 2016, we were open, I think, until midnight. And that was a big deal because Chris wanted to be open until 1 because all of the bars around town were open until 1. And we're like, it's our first weekend, let's do midnight. And then at like 11:30, the crowd just completely changed, and it just wasn't the crowd that we were hoping to get in here, just a little rowdier and louder, and we're like, okay, this is not going to work. We're going to be closing at 11. So then we closed at 11, and that worked really great. We did that all the way up until the pandemic, And then during the pandemic, our hours were really weird, like 4 to 8 p.m., because we were just selling to go off of our patio. So that doesn't really count. But then when we came back, we were open until 11, and then we realized no one is here at 11 o'clock anymore. So let's close at 10, and then if the bar, if there's people here, if they're drinking, if they're having fun, if they're behaving, we can stay open a little longer, but let's advertise our hours till 10 o'clock. So, and then we get the crowd that we like. So, they're not too rowdy.
Yeah.
No.
So being a server in the past, how does that contrast with your previous life?
I love it here, and that's why I came to get a job here. I love that difference, and I think that difference really reflects the type of energy you're going to get when you come here, and the ambiance, and the other patrons. We definitely know when people are not our people.
Right.
From that 10:45, if we stayed open to midnight, that 10:45 to, if you're walking in here at 10:45, I don't know. You're probably going to make a ruckus.
Yeah. And Chris and I, as business owners, kind of had a hard decision, too, because if you look at the trends of bars, they make most of their money late at night.
Yeah.
Super late at night. People are buying high-end bourbons or doing shots or just buying rounds for people or whatever.
Good point.
And we kind of made the decision that we don't even want that money. We don't need that money. We rather have a good atmosphere, have good bartenders, attract good bartenders, and then just not even partake in that. So
we regularly hear that people really appreciate that. They're like, we like that it's not a loud party at night. We want to sit here and relax and talk to our person or friends that are with us, and they still spend money.
They do.
They still get good drinks.
For sure. And I think that's an interesting way to look at things, because we've all been to bars that are open late night, and when I was growing up, the city was 5 a.m.
That's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, right. So there's a story.
In Chicago.
There's a couple stories.
I'm not sure.
One where a cab drops me off in front of my parents' house when I was in college, and I get out of the cab as my parents are going to church. Right?
Oh my!
And it's daylight and the whole thing, and everything from about 10:30, 11 o'clock on, it's just kind of a blur. And you just need to get through the doors to, get in line. And it's no longer about the experience of the place.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a different deal.
And I really like that Chris and Tammy, right after we opened up after the lockdown, they gave us the power. They're like, we're gonna change the hours to 10 because nobody's really coming in, and you're welcome to let people in until then, and then they can just sit and relax. So we got to this really nice habit where we would just go around and say, hey, we're gonna close, but you don't have to leave. I will get you another round. There's no rush. And everybody just goes, what? We just get to relax and finish our drinks.
I don't know, are we you want to let that secret out of the bag and everybody's going to think that they could be here all night?
No, we definitely will. I tell them, I'm like, hey, you're cool until I sweep around your feet.
Then it's time.
Then, when you hear the vacuum turn on, that's your cue.
Yeah. So, the old tavern, bar, pub standard, of course, was the TV show Cheers, where you walk in and everybody knows your name. And I have to admit that happens here, and for a lot of people.
Definitely.
It does.
Yeah.
I feel like most of the time when any of the bartenders or myself or Chris walk in, I'm like, oh yeah, we know them and them and them, and we just know them.
I mean,
and
just looking
us.
around right now at the people at the bar, I'm like, well, I know those guys, I know them. I could name half the people that are in here at the moment, probably.
And I think it's more than just being in a fairly small town. I think there are people that come from other places that are well known here as well.
Yeah, we have people from the city that come enough, and I'm getting to know them. And when I see someone a few times in a row, I definitely start to get their name. Start to pay attention to who they are.
And honestly, there's a couple at the bar right now who were from St. Louis and would come over here regularly 2 or 3 times a week, and just recently moved here. And part of the reason why they were drawn here, they said, was because of this place, the hospitality here, and meeting people here in this bar. And they live now in Waterloo.
That is
just in the last few months they moved here.
Yeah. Well, and I know when I come in, I just approach the bar, and then the drink that I like is handed to me. I don't have to, hey, what do you want? Who are you? And it's really nice when the staff knows the customers and, it's a genuine kind of cool thing. Is there a favorite individual that comes in and you guys are like, yeah, this person's here, or...
Oh, I have a lot of them.
Oh, yeah.
I have a lot of them.
Yeah, there's so many.
They're so much fun, and we really get to know our customers, and they become like family to us. They know about our kids. They know about our jobs. They know... I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that I could just... say one name, I'd have to go down the list to make sure I don't leave this person off or this person off.
Yeah.
But, I mean, of course, we had our resident town wanderer, John, that just walked by. He was in and out, but he's in all the time, talking to anybody and everybody. So
You just called him the wanderer, like he's lost.
Well, no, he just...
kind of is.
He makes his way around town.
I love when he comes in, chatting with him.
Yeah.
I think it speaks volume of Tara and Josh and our other bartenders that do the same too. Like they are here for people interaction and to have a good experience here, and it's like their fun job, and so they are going to take care of the customers, get to know you. They are not here to make money or to make tips. Like that's not in the front of their mind. Which I really appreciate, and you can tell in their service too.
Yeah, they're not trying to hustle everybody and upsell and the whole thing.
No, we cut people off if we have to, and because of that, it's and I've really found that like when you do a good job and when you're real personable and when you make connections, like you'll be taken care of in all sorts of ways.
Yeah.
So they come in and they know us, and when I heard I was on this with Josh, I was like, this is going to be awesome, because me and Josh, for a long time, we had so many stories from our shifts, and Tammy mentioned, like, we all know our stuff, and it's always good when I have someone on staff with me to go, okay, Josh is going to tell you all about this bourbon that you're asking me about. And I said, I like this one, and this one, and that's all I know. So we all compliment each other really well.
Well, that's a good point, too. As a bartender, and Tammy mentioned that, most of the staff has been trained here outside of you, and I don't know if there's any others, but there are full-on bartending schools. It's an industry. So, yes, you've got your beers on tap, and they're all made here, so there's a learning curve there. And then Chris's bourbon problem is, all over the shelves. So how do you stay on top of everything that you're serving?
It takes a little while, but we always have someone here. We always have someone here to fall back on. And I think we're all really patient with each other, too.
We have a really awesome private Facebook group that we always update all the new beers.
Yeah.
And, this beer goes in this glass, and this is the price. And, so Facebook is great for that. So
yeah, and Josh and I are both certified Cicerone beer servers, so that when I came into here, I was like, I am so happy to see you have like 12 glasses. This makes me so happy. Like, it's not the standard ugly
pint or shaker glass,
thick pint glass.
Yeah,
I like to see all of the styles and know that I have the power to like pour it properly. And
I mean, I'm just a beer nerd in general, so as a home brewer, I know a lot about beer. I always, when I'm kegging or filling kegs here on the weekends, I'm always even checking out if Chris has a new beer that I don't recognize that one. I'm looking at the recipe, seeing what's in it. So I kind of have the information then to be able to describe the beer later on as well. And then after I started working here, I became a bourbon geek too. Mm-hmm. So that helps. I mean, I did have to learn about some of the mixed drinks procedures and things like that. That was something that I had to, kind of do a little watching. And I remember my first year or two, Chris and Tammy would actually put a link to some YouTube videos of a particular bartender that would teach you how to serve certain drinks too. So that was very helpful.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
And I know I've never been a professional bartender or a server. But I know a lot of people who have, and I know a few career people that this is what they do, and especially in the restaurant business. There's a guy I knew that worked in an Italian restaurant, and his night was made when the customer came in. and didn't even want to know about the menu and just said, look, can you help me out, right? Can you recommend something? This is, and the server says, well, what do you like? You know, and they say, well, I like pasta and I like red sauce. Okay, can we make something for you? So does that kind of thing happen here? I mean,
all the time.
Yeah.
My favorite thing is when someone says, what's good? And I go, you know what? I really like this drink that's not even on the menu. Do you like vodka? Do you like gin? I'm going to make this happen. People want Cosmos. I'm like, yes, you want a Cosmo? I'm going to make this happen. I'm the cocktail
Tara's
lover.
definitely the cocktail and mixed drink.
Nice.
I like
connoisseur of the group.
cocktails.
Yeah, she actually comes up with cocktails for us that we put on the menu and feature them for about a month or so. And she makes this like watermelon puree for watermelon margaritas, and she'll make a special syrup.
I have to admit, I think I took on more than I could chew with the watermelon.
was that a Facebook post?
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
did a
I remember
Facebook
seeing
thing.
that. Yeah.
I think it became a lot when I was like, oh my God, people are drinking so many of these. I have to cut a watermelon every week, because it was legit fresh cut watermelon, blended and strained to make the juice.
It was the whole thing. So if you enjoyed one of her watermelon margaritas, know that a lot of love went into that,
Yeah,
for sure. So
it'll be back in the summer.
Yeah.
We're going to make it happen. I have so many ideas.
that's one of the things I really appreciate about Tara, is because she has all of this serving and bartending and waitressing experience, that she brings that to us and can share it with us, because we really have no clue what we're doing here. So
That's not true. That's not true.
very helpful.
Yeah, this is totally not true.
I was super impressed when I, like, the first few weeks of starting, and of course being a patron, just a normal, guest before working here. I was really impressed with how good everybody did. And whenever we interviewed and you said, you're the only one that was a bartender first. Everybody has normal day jobs. And I was like, what? They're really good.
Yeah.
And the attention to detail here makes me super happy, because that fills me up too.
And I think that's it. The people here, whether you're a customer or a bartender, like, you just care. And Chris and I do too. I mean, we just care so much about every little aspect of this place. And that's one thing I appreciate about Josh, is if you come to the brewery and you've never been here before, one of his questions to you will be like, well, what kind of beer do you like to drink?
Right. Yeah, and I was going to say, like, you asked earlier too, or just a minute ago, about someone coming in and saying, well, I don't really know what I want, but if I have the time and somebody like orders a flight and they're like, you pick them for me. Like, I enjoy that, and especially if I have the time, like if we're not super busy, and I can explain each beer to them that I picked. Okay, I picked this one. This is what style it is. I like this one because of this, and you kind of go down the line and be able to give them a little bit of the backstory of each of the beers too.
Yeah.
And he can do that with bourbons too.
Yeah.
Yes, he's very knowledgeable about bourbons.
Well, then that does nothing but add to the experience that the customer is going to have. They're going to appreciate that you took the time. And I really think it goes top down, because Chris genuinely enjoys sharing his beer with people. And you guys behind the bar genuinely enjoy preparing it and sharing it with customers. It's just a lot of fun.
Yeah, and there's things, being like a previous server bartender, there's things that happen here that make this experience awesome. Like the bourbon of the week, I've never seen that done anywhere I've worked, anywhere I've visited, and it really gave me the opportunity to try things I would not have. It's like, oh, it's sitting here. It's just a nice reminder to go, Tara, you got to drink the bourbon.
Yeah, twist your arm a little bit.
Try the bourbon. So I take a little sip, and I'm finding that rye is becoming something I can get down with.
There you go.
Yeah, and I mean, definitely that's how I even got into bourbon. I maybe had drank a couple of Jack and Cokes or something before working here, like total in my life. But seeing the bourbon of the week, every time I was like, well, maybe after the shift I'll take a little taste of that one, try it. And pretty soon I found I really like these not so much, but started to really build more of a taste for it. And then the next summer, my wife gave me a trip to Kentucky to the Bourbon Trail, and learned a lot more and got hooked from there. So
yeah, and it was on.
Yeah,
and I think that firsthand experience helps again to translate to a customer what something is and if they might like it or not. But I have a question now, being a customer. Whenever you go to a restaurant and ask, hey, what's good? I kind of feel like somebody in the kitchen said, "Hey, push the veal because we got a stack of it over here." When you guys say, "Oh, I really like the whatever," is this because you like it or because Chris is like, "We have too much of this"?
I'm honest to a fault. I have a hard time lying. Like if I have to keep something a secret or if I have a gift for my boyfriend I'm like, I just can't hold this anymore. So as soon as someone asks me something like that, the first thing that's going to come out of my mouth is the truth. And I would just say like, what do you like? Are you, if you want this cocktail or that cocktail, or if you like light beers, you like dark beers, do you want some bitters, like bitterness?
Yeah, I'd say that's the route I usually go to as well. Like trying to first like feel them out. Well, are you in the mood for a beer? Are you looking for a mixed drink? Are there certain styles that you really like, you don't like, or you just not really, you don't really know much about craft beer in general, and you're just looking for something, suggestion, kind of feel them out a little bit, and then know where to go with what to suggest for them. Because honestly, I don't think I know I haven't had a bad beer here, so it's all good. It just depends on what you like.
Sure.
Everybody has a different taste profile, so it comes down to like trying to figure out, okay, like what sort of style would fit best with them.
We have no reason to push anything either, because it's all good. And nothing's going to go bad.
That's a good point. Yeah.
We don't have a kitchen.
Yeah,
Which is,
right.
Yeah, we don't ever throw beer away. It always gets drank.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So when you have a customer that is not familiar with craft beer, there can be some anxiety. They don't know what
I was
they're
just
up
going
against.
to actually go into that, Kevin, because I feel like sometimes it can be intimidating coming into a brewery that only serves craft beer. We don't serve domestic beer like Budweiser or Michelob Ultra or anything like that. We just serve the beer that we brew here. So it can definitely be intimidating, but that's you don't have to be intimidating, and you won't be made fun of, and you will fit right in. Like the bartenders are so good about asking you, "Oh, what do you like to drink?" "Well, let's try this," or whatever, and they'll find you something that you like.
And that's what I was going to ask. So as a patron, if you recommend something to somebody and they don't like it, right?
Right.
How do you treat them?
Well, usually
First he points and laughs at
I
them.
was going to say.
no. No, usually if it's somebody who's like not familiar with craft beer or not familiar with our beer, I'll give them a couple options first and give them a couple samples to kind of taste. So hopefully they don't get a full pint of something that they don't like. They've had a chance to taste it beforehand.
Good strategy.
And I usually, again, just kind of try to talk to them, feel them out about what, if they're a light beer drinker, I'll just say, okay, I'd recommend the Fountain Creek Kolsch. You might also like the Old Ledger Lager. Let me give you a sample of both of those, see if you like those, and we'll go from there. So try not to get to the point where I've got a whole huge beer poured, then they're like, "Oh, I don't like that."
Yeah.
Especially if I know that they're coming in as someone who's a little uncertain about, craft beer or our beer, not having had it. Try to go that route. So.
Well, and these days, the way people interact, if somebody pours you something that you don't like, you might be hesitant to even feedback to the bartender. You might just kind of set that aside and walk out the door, unless you know that the situation is diffused to where the bartender's like, "Hey, it's cool that you don't like that. We've got other stuff."
Right.
It's not like this is, well, maybe Chris, but it's not like you saying this is my beer, that I made for you. It's just an option. So.
Well, I don't even think. I know Chris wouldn't be like that, but
No, he's not.
I think there's an understanding too, like especially as a home brewer, like. There's so many styles out there, and there are styles that I don't like. That like people make really good representations of that style, and some people love that style, but I just don't really like that style. And so I totally understand that you might get a beer, somebody might get a beer here that they don't like, and it doesn't mean it's a bad beer. It's just not their beer. It's just not the right fit for them.
Yeah, and that's okay.
Yeah. We always make sure they like the sample. I have had, I don't know what it is, but lately I've had several people just go, "I'll have a blank." And I don't know, it's the way they say it. I'll be like, "You want a sample or you want a glass?" And they're like, "No, I'll just have a glass." And I was like, "Are you sure? Because I'm happy to give you a sample." They get the sample and they're like, no, that's not it. And I'm like, "Yeah, I had a feeling."
I knew
and
that.
So let's go this route. And that like, fortunately, the beer, you can just pour out a little sample. And I mean, it could be as detailed as, like, hey, don't drink that whole sample. I have been telling and educating a lot of guests, like, sip, 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 and let it, like, slide over the whole back of your tongue, like, get it around your teeth, and let it get all the parts of your tongue, because that flavor is going to build and that flavor is going to change. And that's why when you try 2 or 3, that second beer, keep sipping and sipping, because that flavor is going to change, and then you're going to know really how it tastes. Because have you ever had someone get a beer sample and then the whole beer and they're like, it doesn't taste like this.
It tastes
a little different because they are just like drinking the whole sample.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, that's interesting.
Can't do that with a cocktail though.
Right.
Well, yeah, but the difference there is, was it made the same? You know,
Yeah,
so you got to make sure.
We're really consistent.
I think
the recipe cards help. The
Yep.
measure, like the little jiggers, those help.
so. Right now is your chance. Okay, so to communicate to bar patrons, and generally everybody here I've noticed is very respectful and pretty cool. But is there something that you want to just tell people? Hey, don't hold your 20 up and wave it at me. Or I mean, it doesn't happen here very often.
That never happens here.
But we've all been to places like that. I mean,
yeah.
so if you could tell anybody, you know, what's the best way to, you know, acknowledge that you got your attention or anything to make their experience better, what would it be?
I would. My suggestion would be if you can tell that we're very busy, we've got a lot of people, we've got a line, and you want a complicated mixed drink or something like a bourbon flight that's going to take a while, just understand that we might have to say, I'll get to that, but I'm going to get a couple of other people who want beer first and get them taken care of to try to get the line moving, knowing that the one drink that I might have to make for you, it might take 5 minutes, and I've got a huge line here, so I might take a couple other people with beers first and then go on to that. Just not trying to be disrespectful, but trying to keep the line flowing and try to keep majority of the people moving along.
Well, sure, and that's truly in their best interest, so you can focus on what they want.
Right.
Let's get the easy pours out of the way.
I
good
would
point.
definitely say something similar. Usually people who want a bourbon flight are with other people. So, hey, I'm going to get this as soon as I can. Do you want a beer while you sit with your friends? Can I get you an 8 ounce of something? And I'm going to get that next. Like, I'm going to get it. And then I'll actually also knock out some beers when they're not looking. Just like knock out the line and then run over their bourbon flight when it's done.
And on a kind of a total sidebar disclaimer, because I know from listening to previous podcasts, we might have some listeners in like Hungary or Czechoslovakia or
Slovenia,
that's what it was.
Yeah,
Slovenia.
yeah.
Okay. So if you are from out of the area and you come to St. Louis, just FYI, Uber and Lyft will bring you here. But you cannot get a Lyft or Uber to come here to take you back to St. Louis.
Tell the story.
We've had that happen.
Is that what all those people are in the corner that can't get home?
So just this past Friday night, we had 3 gentlemen from El Paso, Texas area come in.
Nice.
And they came in and they said, 2 guys, younger guys, and they said, hey, we brought a real stubborn German. And an older gentleman, looked probably in the 70s, in the middle, very thick German accent. They were great, wonderful people. I talked to them a lot. Told them some of the beers. They wanted to try Old Ledger Lager just based on the story I gave about the brewery and everything like that. And at the end of the night then, about 9:30ish, they said something about trying to get a ride back to St. Louis, and they were trying to get an Uber, and Uber wouldn't come.
Yeah.
And then Lyft wouldn't come.
Oh,
and so
boy.
we were looking all over trying to figure out, okay, what are we going to do? Abby, one of the other bartenders who works at a hospital in St. Louis, said, well, I know some of the cab companies that we use. We might try to be able to call them. And luckily, one of the guys was just kind of walking around and talking to some other people, and there was a gentleman here. I'm not really sure of his name. He's in here every once in a while from Waterloo, and he said, yeah, I'll give you guys a ride back over. So, and they offered him money. He's like, I don't think you need to pay me. That's okay. So luckily, we had a good patron here who gave him a ride back over. But at the moment, I was thinking, I don't really know what to tell them because Uber wouldn't come, Lyft wouldn't come, other than calling a taxi to come over here, which is going to be a big bill. Not really sure what else we can do.
That's a good point.
So just a disclaimer for people out of town, like that is something to keep in mind.
Yeah.
Rent a car.
Rent a car, have
Rent a car.
DD and rent a car.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, one of the things I like about this bar is it actually feels like, like another room of the house. It's very comfortable. It's like I'm just going to go over there, and I don't feel like I'm really going anywhere. I feel like I'm just moving into a different part that I'm very familiar and comfortable with. And part of that is because of what you guys do, and the other bartenders here. It's a different mix of people. Everybody's got a different personality and their own thing going on. But I have to hand it to you. I'm always treated well, and I think everybody here is, and that's why they keep coming. So we appreciate you putting up with all of us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I remember I love the podcast. I forgot to mention from the beginning, but I listen to it all the time, especially when I'm washing my dog, my own little dog. Like I turn on this. I listen to podcasts when I'm grooming, and I told Chris shortly after. I had to text him. I was like, I love the podcast. I laugh out loud. Like, y'all are just so funny, and you have your little quirks, and I heard Jared's voice, and I'm like, he sounds like a guy that I serve at the bar.
How about that?
Like, we just have this cool little family here.
Yeah, no, it's a great way to put it. So, Tammy, you guys have done a great job of recruiting, and in some cases, and selecting, and hiring, and fostering. So, nice work.
Yeah. They are literally our family. Like, I don't know how to describe it. You just have to, if you'd work here, you would kind of feel the vibe and everything. But yeah.
For sure.
It's good.
It is good.
It's a great team.
And you know what also is good is the German word of the day, which I may have mispronounced. And,
no.
And Josh may be the unlucky recipient of that pronunciation. So the word, as I said, was Schwiniak. And I'm going to digress a little bit, because when I was growing up, I was told that there are varying dialects of German. And there was Low German and High German and whatnot. And I might have flipped this one. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So Tammy said Schwiniak means a beer server, right? And Tara said it's a barmaid. And Josh said it's a small dinghy that will take you out to your boat, which is fantastic. But because I think it was Schwein, it is actually a pigskin.
Oh, it did have to do with
Dang!
Which has absolutely nothing to do with the topics or the guests.
No, it doesn't.
But it's something that my mom called me. So that's,
So did your mom pronounce it?
Schwiniak is what she called me.
Schwiniak.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe it is a dialect difference. Yeah,
It was Chicago German.
right.
And there are things that my grandmother called me in German that we cannot say
Right,
here.
of course.
Yeah, right on. Well, listen, thank you so much for joining us. And the great thing is, you guys are here anyway. I would encourage anybody that comes to the Stubborn German to don't come here just thinking you're going to get a drink and a place to sit down. You're going to get a chance to talk to some interesting people who are genuinely here to help you have a good time and get a good drink and find out what you like. If you get something you don't dig, that's cool. There's other stuff to try. Lord knows there's 58.7 million bottles of bourbon on the wall. You'll never run out. So, everybody appreciates when you come in and try something new. If you dig this kind of podcast, as Tara does when she's washing her dog, if you got a lizard at home or something that you're cleaning all the time and you want something to listen to, please hit the subscribe button. Give us a big stack of 5 stars. We appreciate that. I know Chris would like that. And for Mr. Josh, Tara, and Tammy, I'm Kevin Ostie for the Stubborn German Podcast saying Prost.
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 All right, the clock is rolling. Here we go. This is the Stubborn German Podcast. I'm coming.
We're going to take 2 on that one, Kevin.
We are. We should just leave that in there. I'm coming off a cold, and that had nothing to do with what I just did. All right.
I'm just kidding.